Most people think money is just a piece of paper or a number on a glowing screen, a reward for hard work, or a tool for buying things they don't yet own. But they are wrong. Money is not an object. Money is a living energy that follows a set of hidden, ancient laws. These laws don't care about your degree, your job title, or how nice of a person you are. Gravity doesn't care if you're a saint or a sinner. If you step off a ledge, you fall. Cash power is exactly the same. Right now, there is a silent language being spoken in the bank accounts of the elite. It's a language of flow, pressure, and silence. While the masses are taught to save for a rainy day, the masters of cash are doing something entirely different. They aren't saving. They are positioning. By the end of this video, you will understand the 3 silent laws that dictate who stays trapped in the cycle of survival and who ascends to the level of true cash power. Welcome to the hidden architecture of wealth. Does it ever feel like you're running a race where the finish line keeps moving? You get a raise, but the car breaks down. You save $1,000, but the cost of rent goes up by $200. You finally feel like you're getting ahead, only to realize you're just deeper in the forest. This is the illusion of progress. Most of us were raised on a lie, the lie of the steady path. Go to school, get a job, work hard, and the money will take care of you. But look around. The hardest workers are often the poorest. The people putting in 12-hour shifts at the hospital or the construction site are rarely the ones with cash power. The problem isn't your work ethic. The problem is that you are treating money like a trophy to be kept in a cabinet. You treat it as the end goal. In reality, money is a soldier. And if you don't know how to command your army, they will eventually desert you. You are struggling because you are fighting a war with no strategy, using a currency designed to lose its value the longer you hold it. Imagine 2 men. We'll call them Thomas and Elias. Thomas is responsible. He earns $5,000 a month. He spends $4,000 and puts $1,000 into a glass jar under his bed. He feels safe. He watches the pile grow. Elias earns the same amount. But Elias understands the first law, the law of velocity. Elias knows that money in a jar is dying. It is still water. And in nature, still water becomes stagnant. It breeds mosquitoes. It rots. In the world of finance, rotting is called inflation. While Thomas's pile of cash stays the same size, the power of that cash is shrinking every single day. The jar stays full, but the bread it can buy becomes smaller. Elias, however, treats his cash like a river. He moves it. Before the ink is even dry on his paycheck, he has assigned his soldiers to different fronts. Some go into assets that grow. Some go into skills that make him more valuable. Some go into opportunity funds. The difference? Thomas is holding dead cash. Elias is wielding cash power. Cash power is measured by how fast your money moves away from you and into things that bring more money back. If your money sits still for more than 30 days, you aren't a collector of wealth. You're a graveyard for it. Let's talk about a truth that might make you uncomfortable. Every financial advisor tells you to build a 6-month emergency fund. They tell you to keep it in a high-yield savings account. Here is the secret the banks won't tell you. A high-yield account is a slow-motion robbery. The bank takes your money, pays you 4% interest, and then lends that same money out to someone else for 15, 20, or 30%. They are using your soldiers to fight their war. They are using the law of velocity while you are stuck in the law of stagnation. True cash power doesn't come from having a safety net. It comes from having optionality. Rich people don't have savings. They have liquidity. Liquidity is the ability to move like lightning when an opportunity appears. When the stock market crashes, the man with an emergency fund is terrified because he's losing his job. The man with liquidity is salivating. He is the only one in the room with the dry gunpowder to buy the world while it is on sale. The law of cash power states, safety is an illusion. Only positioning is real. So, how do you apply this today? You don't need $1 million to start. You need a system. Stop thinking about saving and start thinking about allocation. Bucket 1: Fuel. This is the survival minimum. This is the money that keeps the lights on. It's your rent, your food, your basic life. The goal here is efficiency. Every dollar you trim from this bucket is a soldier you've rescued from the front lines of consumerism. Bucket 2: Seed. This is the growth engine. This money is never to be spent. Not for a wedding. Not for a new car. Not for a vacation. This money is planted in the ground. Its only job is to grow more seeds. Bucket 3: The weapon. This is the opportunity fund. This is the secret sauce. This is a pile of liquid cash that you keep ready. You aren't saving it for a rainy day. You are holding it for a golden day. A day when a business goes on sale, a property becomes undervalued, or a new technology emerges. When you have a weapon bucket, your psychology changes. You stop looking at the world as a place of expenses. You start looking at the world as a place of entries. The second law of cash power is the law of pressure. Think about how a diamond is made. It isn't made by waiting. It is made by intense and relenting pressure applied to carbon over vast amounts of time. Your financial life works the same way. Most people live in a state of low pressure. They earn just enough to cover their bills, with a tiny bit left over for comfort. They are like a garden hose. With a leak, the water comes out, but it has no force. It can't power anything. To build cash power, you must learn to create artificial pressure. This means intentionally narrowing the gap between what you earn and what you allow yourself to touch. When you look at the wealthiest people in history, they didn't just save. They lived as if they were broke long after they were rich. They kept the pressure high so the excess cash could be piped into their weapon bucket with the force of a hydraulic jet. If you increase your income but also increase your lifestyle, the pressure remains at zero. You are just a bigger hose with a bigger leak. But if you keep your expenses locked while your income rises, you create a pressurized reservoir of capital. This pressure is what allows you to make moves that change your family tree forever. It is the difference between buying a luxury car today and buying the entire car dealership 10 years from now. Let's look deeper into the third law, the law of silence. We live in an era of loud money. You see it everywhere on social media: rented jets, stacks of bills, gold watches. This is not cash power. This is a signaling trap. When you signal your wealth to the world, you are leaking energy. You are inviting envy, taxes, and predators. True cash power is silent. It is the person in the room you'd never suspect. It is the quiet ownership of assets that produce value while you sleep. The law of silence states that the more people know about your moves, the less power those moves have. When you operate in silence, you have the advantage of surprise. You can accumulate positions in the market without driving the price up. You can build businesses without inviting competition. You can live a life of total freedom without being a target. Remember, the loudest person in the room is usually the one with the most debt. The quietest person in the room is usually the one who owns the room. Now, consider the concept of debt as a ghost. Most people see debt as a weight. And for 99% of people, it is. It is a chain around their neck that tethers them to a desk. But in the realm of cash power, debt is a ghost. It is something that doesn't really exist if you know how to haunt the system. The masters of cash use good debt to multiply their velocity. They borrow at a low interest rate to buy an asset that returns a higher rate. They aren't using their own soldiers, they are hiring mercenaries. If you can borrow $1 million at 5% and make 10%, you have just created $50,000 out of thin air. But be warned, if you do not master the law of velocity first, debt will consume you. It is a fire. In the hands of a chef, it cooks the meal. In the hands of a child, it burns the house down. Look at your life right now. Are you the chef, or are you the child playing with matches? Most people are terrified of debt because they only know consumer debt. They've only used debt to buy things that lose value. This is dead debt. It is a vampire. It sucks the life out of your future hours. To transition to cash power, you must kill the vampires and start recruiting the mercenaries. You must shift your mindset from how much does this cost per month to what is the return on this capital. As we move toward the final realization of this journey, I want you to look at a map of the world. Not a map of countries and borders, but a map of capital flow. Money is constantly moving from the impatient to the patient. It is moving from those who seek safety to those who seek opportunity. It is moving from those who speak loudly to those who act silently. The silent laws are the gravity of our social structure. You can try to ignore them, you can claim they are unfair, or you can even hate them. But they will continue to operate regardless of your opinion. The person who understands velocity, pressure, and silence is the person who eventually stops checking the price tag. Not because they are greedy, but because they have moved beyond the survival layer of humanity. They have entered the legacy layer. In the legacy layer, you aren't just surviving. You are building. You are creating jobs, funding ideas, and protecting the people you love. This is the ultimate expression of cash power. It isn't about the cash. It's about the power to change the world around you. Let us descend into the final chamber of the silent laws, the psychology of the infinite game. Most people play a finite game with their money. A finite game has a beginning, an end, and a specific goal like buying a house or reaching retirement. The problem with finite games is that once you reach the goal, the momentum stops. You relax. You let the pressure drop. And in that moment of comfort, the silent laws begin to work against you. The masters of cash power play the infinite game. In this game, the goal is not to win, the goal is to keep playing. They don't see $1 million as a finish line. They see it as a level up in their equipment. It allows them to enter bigger rooms, take on more complex challenges, and move at a higher velocity. To play the infinite game, you must develop emotional liquidity. Physical liquidity is having cash in the bank. Emotional liquidity is having the ability to lose that cash without losing your mind. If you are too attached to your money, you can never wield it. You will be too afraid to move it, too hesitant to strike, and too defensive to grow. You will become like the man with the jar under his bed, paralyzed by the fear of loss. True power belongs to the one who can look at a massive loss and see it as nothing more than the cost of tuition. They know that as long as they understand the laws, they can always whistle the money back. They aren't attached to the soldiers, they are attached to the strategy. Now, let's talk about the final evolution, the generational moat. The ultimate law of cash power is that it must be protected by a moat. In the physical world, a moat is a ditch filled with water. In the financial world, a moat is a barrier of complexity and legal structure. The average person owns everything in their own name. They are a single point of failure. If they get sued, if they pass away, or if the economy shifts, everything they've built is exposed. They have no moat. The masters of cash own nothing, but control everything. They use trusts, foundations, and holding companies to create layers of separation between themselves and their assets. They understand that ownership is a liability, but control is power. This is how wealth survives for hundreds of years. This is how families stay powerful while empires rise and fall around them. They aren't just building a bank account, they are building an institution. Ask yourself, are you building a sandcastle that the next tide will wash away? Or are you digging a moat? Close your eyes for a moment. Think about yourself 20 years from now. That person is either going to thank you, or they are going to haunt you. The silent laws aren't about being greedy. They are about autonomy. Every time you spend money on something you don't need, to impress people you don't like, you are selling a piece of your future self's freedom. You are telling your future self, I value this plastic gadget more than I value your peace of mind. Cash power is the ability to say no. No to a boss you despise. No to a lifestyle that drains you. No to the fear of the unknown. If you don't respect the laws of cash today, the laws of poverty will rule you tomorrow. The world is designed to keep you spending. The